If you are listening to today's episode and your last launch flopped and you are sitting here thinking, I did everything right and it still sucked. It sucked out all of my energy. It has drained my confidence. And you are now in the space of like, what to do now? This episode is for you. Because what's happening right now is not that you're bad at launching. It's that launching is no longer a strategy on its own. In 2026, attraction is one of the core strategies you need to deploy into your business. And if you don't build it, kind of can't launch your way out of that problem. So that is what we are speaking about today. I have seen brilliant experts in the last 18 months sit in a spiral of their pricing, their offers, their audience, when the real issue that they've had was completely related to demand. So if you feel like you did absolutely everything right in your launch and it freaking sucked and you are tired and you are over it, I see you, I have been you, and in today's episode, we're going to help you identify exactly what's happening, why it's important, and give you a quick diagnostic so that you can see what you need to do in order to have your best ever launches in 2026. So welcome, I'm so glad you are here. So welcome to our first episode for 2026. I still have the kids on school holidays. It is definitely a marathon for us in Australia. These are our long school holidays. So if you're in the US, Canada, the UK, I know that for you, your major school holidays are around that July, August period. And before we get into today's episode, I did just want to share something that I find so helpful from almost like a mindset perspective. I was speaking about this on a mastermind call in my mastermind today as well. But I have definitely noticed, as someone who has run the Peace and Profit Mastermind this is the 6th year that I'll have this offer, we inevitably get into this season, like right now, we're about 3 weeks away from school going back. And when you're in the long school holidays, you kind of just past the middle, you are tired. You've just started the new year and you might be feeling like, oh my God, there's so much to be done and I feel like I'm really behind. And yes, absolutely, you want to be, as someone who might be a mum in business, prepared I seriously think September is when you want to have a lot of your ducks in a row, because then we get into October, November, December, that big selling period, and you want to sort of know what's up. And it is also true that you just go easy on yourself. It's really hard to, number one, sprint. It is really hard to make really big decisions about your business in the time when you are in the trenches of the school holidays. This is your life right now. This is your only one life. So if you are sitting here and feeling behind, I want to let you know that you are right on time. There is still plenty of time for the year, and take it easy on yourself. Call in support when you need. Inevitably, this is a time of year, if you are in the big school holidays, or if you've just come back from that Christmas time, you've had all of these big dreams and big plans and you're kind of ready to rock and roll, but also ready not. And then sometimes it feels like this hangover that you felt like you were ready to start the year. You had all of these exciting plans and then all of a sudden actually got started and you just started feeling disappointed and already tired. So anyway, if that's you, give it a couple of weeks. Everything will be fine. There's plenty of time to get everything done. I promise. Anyway, today we're talking about launches. And if you are anything like some of the clients that I have, you may have had your best ever year. You may have had your best ever launches. And if you are listening to today's episode, it may have freaking sucked. And I had a number of clients come into our programs this year, and the word that they used to describe launching was exhausted. So in the next 15 or so minutes of this episode, we're going to really go through, and then I'll give you a diagnostic to temperature check attraction and demand, because it's everything right now, like literally everything. So you might have felt like in 2025, or whenever you are listening to this, you came off a launch, you followed the playbook, you've launched before, it's not your first rodeo, and yet you still got crickets or a handful of sales. You posted daily. Maybe you increased your posting. Maybe you sent the email every day and 3 emails on the final day. And it messed with your nervous system because you came out of it feeling exhausted, like you didn't make the revenue that you thought you were going to make. And then now you are in a spiral of thoughts of, is it the pricing? Like, do I need to be having low ticket offers in this market? Can my audience just not afford it? Is it an economic thing? Is it the offer that people just no longer want this type of offer anymore? And your confidence might be a little bit shaky. Seriously, ask me how I know, because I have definitely been there in business before. And I want to let you know, it's probably not your pricing. It is probably nothing to do with your offer, and you probably do not need to launch another offer. You may need to, number one, remember who you are, because you are an expert and you are incredible at what you do. You have got your clients' results, but what you might be missing is the one thing that is crucial in this market: attention. You need attention on your brand and your business that positions you and creates demand as the obvious choice, the authority. And I use the word attention probably more than demand, because it's not just about demand, it is also about volume. You need leads at volume, and you need those leads to be hot for you. They need to be obsessed with you. And I have had clients that have had this, I have had this, and it's freaking incredible. And it is the thing that is going to set you aside from other people and help you feel super energized instead of super exhausted after your launches. So let's talk about it. So I had some clients over the last 12-ish months get things like 5 to 16% click rates on the emails that they sent in their launches. I've had clients who have sold literally hundreds of places of mid-ticket offers with like 4 posts on Instagram. I once myself put out 1 email and maybe 1 social post, and I had 50 discovery calls as a result. Why? And I'll tell you exactly why. Attention and demand. So one thing you need to know is that a launch is not a strategy. So a launch is a tactic that we use to sell our offer, but a launch is essentially a conversion event. So if you think of how a launch might work, think of this as the handshake that seals the deal. If you have demand for your offer and attention on your brand and your business, it feels energizing. And it feels easy, and it feels fun, and it feels exhilarating. But when it feels like you are pushing things uphill, it is going to feel completely exhausting, and you are going to feel demoralized after. Why? Why is this? Why is it that this may be the case even though you have launched 1 million times before? There's so many reasons why. One might be that you are not doing any of the things you may have used to do when you were first building your business. Maybe when you were first building your business and you didn't have as many clients, you were showing up way more often. Maybe you didn't know better and you were sharing radical amounts of value that built radical amounts of trust. And then you got a bit hoodwinked by everyone saying like, oh, education posts are dead on Instagram, and you kind of stopped doing it. And then you turned like salesy and weird. Maybe you used to openly invite people out for a coffee or, things like that. I used to do this. I used to host these little dinners with like 1 or 2 people all the time. But I really got to know my brand, and I built that human energy into my brand. I used to consistently, before this was even a thing, send DM voice notes to people saying thank you so much for following me every time someone would follow me on Instagram. I religiously, for the longest time, posted twice a day on Instagram. And so sometimes we're like, oh man, why did nothing work? And it's simply because we think we are, but we're actually not matching the output and the trust and the human energy that we had, in prior times. But the market has changed. It is now harder to get attention, and it is more important than ever. You need more leads in this market than you used to need. And I'm going to say it because no one else is going to say it. You need more leads in this market. And a lot of the people that I work with perpetually say, oh yeah, I know list building is important and I'll get to it. Yes, it's a priority, and they never actually prioritize it. And there's a whole lot of mindset skeletons that come along with that because, then you got to spend money on things like ads, or you feel like you're just hustling on Instagram and speaking to no one. Well, you're going to have to fix that problem. Attention in this market is everything. You need volume and you need demand. Your audience is not just sitting there waiting for you to launch offers. They're trying not to be sold to, and they're overwhelmed. They're slower to trust. What you want is for people to be looking to you as the obvious choice. People to be almost like circling around, and the people who are like, I haven't seen them on stories in a while, and going out and actively seeking out your profile because they want to know what you have to say. That's what you want. So if you are exhausted by launching, I wouldn't look at the launch and I wouldn't look at the offer. I would look at everything that has happened before that launch. What does your growth look like? What does your lead gen look like? How have you been showing up? Have you been consistent? And then if we look at, for example, a quick diagnostic, this is what I'd be looking at, all right? Let me ask you a few questions and you can speak to whether this in your mind, because obviously you're in a car or walking or whatever that looks like. You can be like yes or no to these questions. I have an on-demand training that is about to come up on this, so make sure you're either following me on Instagram or subscribe here to the podcast to learn about all of the details. And I'm going to speak more about exactly what demand looks like, as well as the other 2 strategies you need in 2026 in order to have a really peaceful and profitable business that meets your revenue goals, right? Because when you have demand in your business, you can sell almost anything and you'll get sales. And I've seen it. So here are 5 kind of signals of demand and whether or not you have it in your business. Number 1, are people finding you without you chasing them? So you might be getting shares, saves, referrals, new followers, people who decide that they're ready to work with you and they mention something like a post or a podcast, right? So it's not about having to post all the time, but having people still find you regardless. Number 2, do people start pre-framing you as the solution and people know when they come to you that you're the person they want to work with? So do they come to you in the DMs having almost like this certainty of already wanting to work with you, and they know what you're about, they know how you solve their problems. They're not necessarily like asking vague questions or just general coach shopping. They're like, oh, she's the person that does this and she's the person that I want to help with that because I have this problem in my business. Yes or no? Number 3, do you have ongoing conversations? So when you are putting out Instagram stories or sending emails, are you getting replies? Are people engaging with you? Are people replying to your stories? Are people having, chats with you in the DMs? Yes or no? Are you speaking to Cloud 9 clients and not the folks who are hard to work with? So thinking to the discovery calls that you might have had recently, or the applications, or the people who are joining your programs, are they people who are just full of problems and struggling? Maybe they're people who are looking at you as the very last resort, the savior, like the lifeguard. Or are they people who are ready to move and ready to get results and ready to put in the work? So are they the Cloud 9 clients, or are they people who are like the strugglers? Do you feel like you're constantly having to overcome objections? Or are you getting people who are joining the programs, they're ready to move, they're having success, and they're doing the work? So are you speaking to Cloud 9 clients? And then number 5 is, can you make sales without a full launch? So if the only time that you are making sales is with a big push, you got a demand problem, right? Can you put out an offer, for example, on Instagram stories with 1 or 2 stories, and at the very least, people are going to reply to that? So those are some of the signals of demand. For some people, this may just be a quantity thing. You might be naturally magnetic and we just need to pull a few levers in what you do. But for other people, we might, need to go through and really look at exactly how you're showing up, exactly how you're speaking to your audience, what your content channels look like, and what your strategy looks like. You probably do not need a better or different offer. You probably don't need a low ticket offer, although a low ticket offer can be something that can create demand. But what you probably need is a strategy for attraction and demand. And it's possibly the one thing that you keep putting off, or keep treating as elusive, or keep treating as just a content strategy. There is strategic content that creates demand in your business, and there is, a specific volume that you need in order to reach the sales that you want. But you need to be positioning yourself with enough volume to meet your sales targets, and you need to be the obvious choice in your market. So if this episode has made you realize that you've been launching potentially without demand, or that demand is a bigger issue than your launch and your offer, then you are not alone, and you are not doing necessarily anything wrong. You just might be not having this, one strategy in your business, or not understand how to generate demand in your business. The same type that generates people who subscribe and binge all of your content, that are actively reaching out, that want to purchase the moment that you open the doors. And I'm going to be teaching so much more about this, because it was literally night and day between some of my clients and some of the people who I'm sure you're seeing online as well. And we're going to be teaching how to build that demand and attention in a way that makes your launches feel easier again and helps you reach those revenue goals. So hit subscribe. In the next couple of episodes, I'm going to walk you through some case studies. I'm going to tell you some examples of what it looks like to have demand, and what we'll be focusing on inside my business, as well as what the most successful businesses did last year. I have a free on-demand training that is coming up soon as well, that I know you are going to love, and I'm going to share it with you first. So remember, everything is about attraction in today's market. I hope that's been helpful, and I will see you in the next episode. Another episode on the books. If you'd like to continue the conversation and get more super savable tips, come and find me on Instagram at Robin Birkin. Otherwise, make sure you're subscribed, and I can't wait to see you next week.